What is up, guys? Ninja Nick 333, and we are back for round 7 now of the Pokemon Oceania International Championships of the Pokemon Trading Card Game. We have Christian Tuomi on the left here, looks like playing Mew, and Pedro Eugenio Torres on the right, that is playing some variation of Lost Box. Unfortunate, very, very unfortunate to prize 2 Colress's Experiment. That may hurt his consistency very much so. So we are going to see who won the die roll, who is going first. Nothing too relevant in the prize cards for the Mew player. Looks like Pedro is going first, because he's the only one looking at his hand. And the timer is already going, so yeah, he is definitely going first. He is going to immediately flower selecting. He had the quick ball in hand. I would have personally played the quick ball first just to get the information of what is in my prize cards. Although Pedro is very much a storied player, he does very well at a lot of the events that he goes to. So let's see. He is going to now go for the Capture Energy, so this will be able to allow him to search his deck. Yeah, so I didn't notice the Capture Energy. I would have Capture Energied first for either another Comfey or the Radiant Greninja, and I would have done that first, personally. But, you know, that's just my way of playing. We do also have the Mew V start from Christian as well. That is the perfect start for Mew. It does have free retreat if you need to retreat into something like the Oricorio. It is great to do that on your first turn against Lost Box because that is your one prizer. You want to make sure that you offer up the least amount of prize cards to Lost Box that you can. And also, it is kind of a liability against Sableye anyway. So just let that Oricorio get knocked out early is usually good in my book. Look how calm Pedro is too. He knows what he's doing. They are both at 5-0-1. I believe this may be the first round where we do not see people with full wins on their record. We are looking at the win-in rounds now. Anybody who goes 6-2-1 does advance to day 2 at any regional or international championship. So whoever wins this match, if this result of the match does not end in a tie, they will be moving on to day 2 guaranteed, and the rest of their rounds are just free to take more wins to make their day 2 easier. The more wins you get day 1, the less wins you have to get day 2. And it's a lot easier to get wins day 1 than it is day 2. So we do have the concealed cards, discarding that lightning energy to draw 2 more. We retreated the Capture Energy off to use another Comfey. We have 2 in the Lost Zone now for Pedro. I believe he has a Capture in discard and a Capture in the Lost Zone as well. We do have the Mew VMAX starting out with the Battle VIP Pass. Would love to see that for Pedro. Unfortunately, he did not start with that. However, he does have double Comfey and Greninja. So he is doing exactly... He has exactly what he needs for turn 1. Christian is going to be able to get probably 1 Genesect, 1 Mew, or, oh my god, he's playing the Meloetta version too. I am surprised that I'm seeing 2 Meloetta Mews, the Fusion Strike energy builds of Mews. It's very unlikely to see that, in all honesty, from anybody this day and age. As I've said, the double turbo energy only build is so much better. It is so much faster. It is a lot worse turn 1, but it is so much better every single other turn of the game. Maybe that's their tech to beat Lost Box, is playing the old, less consistent version. That way you can feed them more 1-prizers instead of 3-prizers. You're less afraid of things like Drapion and Sky Seal Stone. So maybe Fusion Strike Mew isn't the worst idea ever, but I just personally prefer consistency. At a tournament like this, there are less players as well, so maybe consistency doesn't matter and techs are more relevant. But at these new regional championships where we have 1,200 players sometimes, it is just a lot better to be able to have the deck that is able to run the way it wants to every single game. Like the standard version of Mew, just like Lugia, so that you could get consistent wins over the course of the tournament no matter what you play against, just because your deck drew well, and maybe your opponent did not because they overtacked. Looks like I think we're Battle VIP passing again, right? Yeah, I believe we're Battle VIP passing again for one more Pokemon. Took Christian a minute just to look at his deck. Mew does now have its full setup. It has the Meloetta, it has 3 Genesects, and it has another Mew V as well. We are going to see, we do have the attach of the Fusion Strike energy onto the Meloetta. We are going to see if we can dig into an Elisa Sparkle. Now, in the version of Mew that plays the Fusion Strike energies and the Meloettas, the way that you want to play it is you want to dig for your Fusion Strike energy first, attach that from hand, then play the Elisa Sparkle. I see a lot of people who play Elisa Sparkle and then try to dig for the Fusion Strike energy, but wouldn't you rather dig for a Fusion Strike energy when there's 4 in deck, and then play the Elisa, instead of playing the Elisa and dig for a Fusion Strike energy when there's 2 in deck? Yeah, exactly. And because he played it in that particularly correct order, he was able to get there. Looks like they are showing the new art of Elisa Sparkle from the new Crown Zenith set there. The old Elisa Sparkle has the black and white 1 art, and the newer Elisa Sparkle has the black and white 2 art of Elisa. She did change her wardrobe because she is supposed to be a fashion model. Fun fact for those who have not played the video game before. Her gym in the second game, the black and white 2, is quite literally a fashion runway, whereas in the first one, it's a roller coaster. Don't know, man. Don't know. So, Mew able to take the first prize card in the match, even when going second. That is the exact reason why I say the Meloetta Fusion Strike Energy version is a lot better turn 1, because the double turbo energy can only attack with the Mew VMAX, which can only come into play turn 2. Therefore, it cannot attack turn 1. But the unfortunate thing for it is that it will still be able to draw into more Elisa Sparkles and more Fusion Strike energy in the future, whereas every turn from now on, it's going to be wanting double turbos and no Elisa Sparkles. So. Also, I believe the Fusion Strike energies do prevent Pokemon abilities from affecting your Fusion Strike Pokemon. So things like Zigzagoon are not able to do their damage. Quick Shooting and Inteleon as well can't damage the Meloetta or the Mew that have those Fusion Strike energies on them. Not something super relevant, does not come up very often, but sometimes it does matter. Pedro now has the Luminion on his bench. He had to use that to get a Colress's Experiment. He has a very thick-looking hand right now. We are going to see if he has the resources that he needs in order to take this knockout. He has enough in the Lost Zone to be able to attack with his Comfey, but can he move his active? he has an energy in hand, so he can always just attach and retreat. That is an option. He's already used his Greninja, so he does not need to attach. He does not need to discard that lightning energy to use the concealed cards. And there he does. You would think that he would want to use more comfy abilities this turn. I think that's why he's slow playing it a little bit, because he's just like, man, I wish that there was more I could do with this turn. But unfortunately, it looks like he is just going to go in with the Cram. I do not think that that is bad. You are removing the biggest threat in play right now, which is the Meloetta. Meloetta, for those who don't know, does 70 damage times the amount of Fusion Strike energies that you have in play. Therefore, it is doing 210 right now. There are 2 on the Meloetta, 1 on the Mew. Meloetta's attack cost is Psychic Colorless, so it can attack for 2 Fusion Strike energies. It can also attack for 1 Fusion Strike energy and a double turbo. It would just take a 20 damage reduction for that. But you can sometimes do fun things like spread your Fusion Strike energies out. So you could have 1 on each of your Mew Vs and 1 on your Meloetta. Attach for turn the double turbo to the Meloetta and hit for 190 still. And then anything in play will only lose you 1 Fusion Strike energy. Your Silene, if you play that, can put 2 Fusion Strike energies back in deck. You can shuffle your deck with something like a Ball Search card so that you don't redraw into it. You can Elisa Sparkle those 2 energy back in on the next turn after that as well. So that is always something fun you can do. A little bit of a combo. We also see that there is the Forest Seal Stone down on that Genesect. I do not see where Christian's V-Star marker is. I don't see where Pedro's V-Star marker is either. It does show on the screen whether or not they've used their V-Star marker, but I would like to see the V-Star marker on the board. I only really check the prize cards on the top of the screen. I don't really look at anything else because the prize cards are not on screen for some reason, so that's the only way to check how many prize cards are left. So it looks like we are using a Quick Ball. We will probably be getting maybe Oricorio this time. We could get another Mew V. That would be okay. I wouldn't want to get a Meloetta because that would just be food for a Sableye in a future turn. Looks like we're going to go for it anyway. Nope, we're going to go for the Mew. Okay. It would be nice if the Fusion Strike energy not only prevented the effects of abilities, but also the effects of attacks. That would be cool, but it does not work that way. We do have the evolution to the Mew VMAX. Looks like those markers were from last turn. Christian never removed them from his Pokemon, so he is going to use his first Genesect for the turn, using the Fusion Strike system to draw until he has 6 cards in his hand, because he has 6 Pokemon in play. Also showing that new Crown Zenith artwork for Mew V here on the screen above my head. I do not like that one as much as the original art. I do like the background on it with like the city that it's flying around in. I think it's actually like Tokyo or something. It's pretty cool. Lots of skyscrapers, flashy lights, but I just like the original art better. Also, fun fact, you don't really see the full arts of the Mews and Genesects very often. There have been reprints of Mew and Genesect in V Battle decks that are, of course, the regular half arts. So a lot of people who own Mews just own the half arts. Also, those full arts, when they first came out, they were pricey, man. And the alt arts, even more so. We are playing the Rotom Phone to look at the top 5 cards of our deck, choose one, shuffle the rest back into the deck, and then put that one back on the top of the deck. That way you guarantee to draw into it with the Genesect V. We are going to slap that double turbo down on the Mew VMAX. That is exactly what you want to see. That Luminion is active, so the Mew will be able to one-shot that, and we will have a significant prize lead for Christian if that is to be the case. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. We retreat the Mew into the Mew VMAX, and we are going to likely cross Fusion Strike for the knockout for 190, 20 more than we need to knock out that Luminion. Takes 2 prize cards, goes down to 3 remaining. Pedro still has 5 prize cards remaining. Hopefully, Pedro does play the Drapion in his deck so that he will be able to make a big swing. If Pedro plays the Sky Seal Stone as well, that allows his basic Pokemon V to take an additional prize card on his opponent's Pokemon V. I believe it's V-Star and VMAX specifically, I think. I don't know. I haven't played with the cards, so I have to reread it. But he can take a 4-prize turn, potentially, on this Mew VMAX by knocking it out with a Drapion. Doesn't really matter too much, but it will make it so Christian definitely does not want to bench that Meloetta again. We also have a cute tech here, which is the Zamazenta that is on the bench here. The Zamazenta has the Retaliate attack. It does 240 damage if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during the previous turn, and it attacks for, I believe, 2 metal, 1 colorless. So you can charge that very easily with an attach for turn plus a Mirage Gate. I believe it just, I don't remember if it does 100 base or 120 base, but yeah, it does like 220 or 240 total with Retaliate. Retaliate has been a good attack on multiple Pokemon in multiple decks over the course of Pokemon's history. I remember the Terrakion that I believe was from one of the early Black and White sets. It might have been Black and White base set, but I'm not entirely sure. Might have been Emerging Powers. It was printed a little bit before I started playing, so. But that had, I believe it was 30 plus 90 or something like that, which was a lot less damage, but in that format, if you're hitting a Darkrai EX, it's doing a lot of damage. It's doing more than you need to knock it out. That Darkrai EX only had 180 damage. Darkrai EX being my favorite deck of all time in every way, shape, and form, all of its variations. From just Night Spear to Garbodor to Heavy Junk Hunt to Dark Pulse Darkrai EX, even with the Turbo Dark Standard and when rotated, so it didn't have Dark Patch, both in Expanded when it did have Dark Patch. All of the different ways. We do have the Mirage Gate going on to that Zamazenta. We are now 1 Metal Energy away from it to being able to do a whole bunch of damage. Even though Zamazenta won't be able to take a knockout on the Mew VMAX, it will still do a very significant portion of damage. Potentially close enough to where the Cramorant might even be able to take the knockout, but it looks like we are going to go for the Escape Rope, which will guarantee that Zamazenta is able to knock out anything. Yeah, okay, so it's base 100 and plus 120 if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn. So that does force this Mew V up, and as long as Pedro has the Metal Energy, which he does, he will be able to attack for 220, one-shotting this Mew V. Pedro will now go down to 3 prize cards remaining. The Mew VMAX is still in play. And he has a Quick Ball in hand as long as Pedro is playing Drapion in his deck. Oh, which we see in hand actually as well. He will be able to win the game off that Drapion. He just will need a way to retreat another Pokemon. Looks like he has both Scoop Up Net and Raihan in his hand. Raihan will be able to provide an energy for any one of his Pokemon to retreat into the Drapion. Or the Scoop Up Net will allow him to pick up whatever of his Pokemon are already in play in order to promote the Drapion. You want to keep it in hand if you were to bench it now so that you can just promote it next turn. Mew could just very easily use this Cram to get a boss's orders. Looks like he does get the heads on it as well, so shows Pedro is doing the very heads-up play of not benching the Drapion yet. You always want to save it. You always want to make the Drapion come out of nowhere and take the game. You don't want to use it early unless you absolutely have to. You want it to be the last prize cards of the game. So it makes me curious as to what Christian is going to be getting with that. I think that he really needs a judge. However, because he is playing the Fusion Strike Energy version, it does not play draw supporters. It might play a Roxanne, but it will not be playing any copies of Judge or Marnie, most likely. It might possibly be playing a single Marnie. Oh, looks like he does have it in hand. Oh, and he's ultra balling it away. No, you need to Marnie this turn, my dude. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah, no. When your opponent is at 3 prize cards, you have to Marnie or Judge with Mew. It's needed. Especially against Lost Box. Because you know that Drapion can come out of nowhere. Pedro has such a huge hand. Oh, Christian does not oh, he has Roxanne. Oh, even better. Well, is it? Well, yes and no. So Pedro will be getting less cards. Yeah, Pedro will be getting less cards. However, it will be shuffle draw. So that Quick Ball and that Drapion that he had in hand are potentially going to be redrawable, whereas if it was a Marnie, they would be on the bottom of his deck and would not be able to be redrawn. So pros and cons to that. Pedro gets 2 less cards, but can redraw into those same cards. So yeah, even better play by Christian. I did not realize he had the Roxanne in hand, so ignore my critiques of him discarding the Marnie. Oh, and it looks like Pedro redraws into the Drapion. So that's exactly as I was saying. The Roxanne can be better, but it can also be worse. I think that Roxanne over Marnie is definitely the correct choice. Especially with how many cards Pedro had in hand. If those are just to be able to be shuffled back into his deck, maybe some of those cards are dead. So it's more likely that he might redraw into some dead cards. But yeah, since he has the Chorus's Experiment, he can just promote Comfey, use Flower Selecting, hope to maybe get Raihan or Scoop Up Net. If he doesn't get it off the Comfey, he then uses the Chorus's Experiment to dig for the Scoop Up Net or a Switch Cart, something like that. And he already has the Drapion he needs in hand, so... Yep. Not sure why Pedro is... Oh, Path to the Peak is in play as well! Christian put Path to the Peak in play. Okay, so not only does he need a way to move the Comfey, but he also needs a way to remove Path to the Peak. So this is a perfect turn by Christian. He was able to do everything he absolutely needed to ensure that Pedro does not win this turn. Now, Pedro still can, but it is a lot less likely. Oh, he gets the Raihan. So now I believe he should have everything he needs. He should be able to Raihan, put the energy from his discard pile onto his Comfey so that it can retreat. Search his deck for any one card, which should be the Lost Vacuum or a Replacement Stadium. Yep, looks like he is getting the Replacement Stadium, and now he will be able to retreat into the Drapion. And you can see just how crazy this Lost Box deck can be sometimes. And yeah, Christian did that perfectly, but he was still punished for playing Mew by having that Drapion come in. Yeah, it's just so unfortunate for him. I always root for the Mew, but yeah, Lost Box is just that good sometimes, especially when piloted by such a storied player as Pedro. It just gets you there, especially when you don't prize that bad and you can just hard redraw into the Drapion and not have to search for it or anything. So we will see, can Christian come back 2-0 in these next 2 games? It's very unlikely because there is only 25 minutes left on the clock, exactly half of the time remaining from the start. Pedro is also prizing... Oh, Pedro prizes the Drapion, but it is in a low prize spot, so he will be actually taking that probably as his first prize card, most likely. So he will have access to it when he needs it later in the game. Mew will be going first. It will likely have another 5 to 10 minute turn 1 because that's how Mew works, especially in the Fusion Strike Energy version. Because as we saw, he plays things like Rotom Phone, so that's a lot more shuffle draw action type things. It's not just drawing. with Genesect, it's also sorting with Rotom Phone, so looks like we are prize checking to see how many... Oh, no, that's his hand. Uh-oh. He's got 2 Fusion Strike energies in hand, and again, the Fusion Strike energy version of Mew is just so much less consistent. He did brick on drawing those cards. This is how it feels when I play Lugia personally. I did research into 5 energy today at my Winnabox that I was at, so it's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So that does still leave enough in deck potentially, as long as he did not prize a Fusion Strike energy, which I don't believe it looks like he did. So he should still have 2 in deck. That leaves enough for an Elisa Sparkle. Oh, and he does have the Elisa Sparkle. Oh, he's going after discard it. Ooh. So he's going to actually hope that he does not redraw into another Fusion Strike energy. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal because you can just hard attach 2 Fusion Strike energies to the Mew V since you went first in order to just use the Mew VMAX as attack. Oh, and we do get Battle VIP Pass off of the draw 4 off of the first Genesect. So we are going to see likely another Mew V and potentially a Meloetta as well. Maybe 2 Mew Vs would be fine since you're not going to be attacking with Meloetta. Yep, that's definitely the game plan this game, it looks like. We are going to see if Pedro will be able to do his Drapion shenanigans for the last 3 prize cards yet again, like he did in Game 1. We are going to cram away the Quick Ball. Let's see if we get a heads. Looks like that is a no. That's okay, you're not really digging for that much stuff. It does allow you to still draw with your next Genesect. And then just passes from there. Can't really play out more cards, and even if he did, it's probably better that he doesn't. Oh, looks like Pedro has double Battle VIP Pass start. Oh, this is going to be a game. Pedro thinking, looking at his hand very methodically. Yeah, if you're Pedro, you definitely want to be winning this game too, because you do not want to be going to a game 3 against Mew. Both of your decks do too many actions in a turn. You will not be able to finish a best of 3 series, especially if game 1 took 25 minutes and you only have 21 minutes left and you are on your first turn of game 2. Looks like Pedro is prize checking as well while he is in there. We already see, looks like probably Comfey, Radiant Greninja eyed up as the 2 cards to get off of the first Battle VIP Pass. I like it. That is exactly what you want to have off of your first Battle VIP Pass. As I always say, double Comfey or Comfey Greninja. We are going to possibly use the second one. I mean, you don't really need to. You have everything that you need in play and in hand. You have the second one of, you have the second Comfey in hand. You can play the escape rope to move the Raikou out of the active in order to put the Comfey active in order to use your flower selecting, hopefully get into a Chorus if there is not already one in hand. Pedro really thinking about this second Battle VIP Pass. Not quite sure what he wants to get. Looks like he is getting another Comfey and a Cramorant. I like it. I agree with that. You already have the Raikou V in play. You don't want Drapion early, and you prized it anyway. Even though you have a Comfey in hand, it's perfectly fine to get those Comfeys out. This way you have 3 in rotation. You can potentially get a whole bunch of cards in the Lost Zone in one turn. If you get enough scoop up nets and switch carts and the like. We are going to fleet-footed first with the Raikou. Fleet-footed, all of the legendary kitty cats of Gen 2 that have their Vs all have the fleet-footed ability once per turn. If it's in the active spot, you can draw a card. Pedro actually gets a third Battle VIP pass. I don't even know if you would want to play that. I think at this point, off of this Chorus's experiment, you would just want to Lost Zone that Battle VIP. You already have everything that you need in hand, realistically. Looks like he might be eyeing up the Lost Zoning of the Illuminion as well. I think that you do keep that for a future turn in case you need to dig for another Chorus's experiment next turn. So yeah, he does end up keeping that. I like how he perfectly chose those 2 cards to Lost Zone. We do see the switch cart. That is better than playing the escape rope because you do not want that Genesect coming out of the active spot. You want to force Christian to have a switch card. We are going to scoop up net that Comfey, put another Comfey up. We are going to use that Comfey. We are going to, oh, big decision. We've got Capture Energy or Capture Energy. Which one will he choose? He chooses Capture Energy number 1 and Lost Zone's Capture Energy number 2. Or vice versa. I don't know. He does have that escape rope in hand in case he does want to use another flower selecting this turn. He also has it in case he wants to attack with the Cramorant. I do not think that that would be that bad. Ooh, ooh, he's taking the Drapion off of the Heavy Ball. Is he going to go early Drapion? I mean, I don't agree with it, but he can just take 2 prize cards this turn if he does it, so... I think since he did use the Heavy Ball, the likelihood that the Drapion would be... Oh, it's also called Peso Ball. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I think he has to take the Drapion because it could be shuffled to the top prize cards and then you don't have it when you need it. So you can take it for now. You're not necessarily going to be attacking with it, but just having the ability to have it in your hand, even if you get Marnieed or Roxanne, at least it's in the deck so that you can quick ball for it or something. We are using the Capture Energy on the Comfey that will allow it to retreat into the Cramorant. It uses that ability of the Capture Energy to bring out that Oranguru with his Monkey Wisdom ability. Wisdom of the Monks. We are going to use Monkey Time. We're going to put the Luminion on the top of our deck in case we get Marnieed. We now have access to the Luminion to be able to get a Chorus's Experiment. Again, pretty flawless play by Pedro here. I don't see any mistakes at all. Pretty straightforward, though, what we're doing here. We are going to... Oh, looks like we are just going to use Greninja's concealed cards. I would like to see that first, and then the Primate Wisdom. So maybe that's a little bit of a mess up from Pedro, forgetting that he hasn't used the Radiant Greninja yet, maybe? Or maybe he drew an energy off of the Oranguru, and that allowed him to be able to use concealed cards. That's possible as well. Because I think he did draw that Psychic Energy off of the concealed cards, so... Yeah, I think he may have. I think he may have gotten the Water Energy off of that. And yep, just hits for 110 onto the Genesect. We really need to move that now. Oh, and we have the escape rope anyway. So that will force something up for Pedro that he does not want knocked out. I would say out of everything that he has in play, he does not mind the Cramorant being knocked out. He does have another Comfey in hand, so actually I wouldn't necessarily mind the Comfey going active. He could put the Oranguru as well because it doesn't have a ton of utility. I mean, but Oranguru is just a good card, though. I think, like, out of all of his bench sitters, I would think that the Oranguru is probably the most expendable. Because it doesn't put cards in the Lost Zone. It's just kind of there to protect from Marnie. And that's exactly what happens, so looks like Pedro gets a little punished for using the Oranguru to put the... or using the concealed cards, I suppose, so that the the Luminion is no longer just on the top of the deck. Because if it was, it would now be in his hand, but instead it's on the bottom of his deck. Hopefully Pedro just drew out of it, though. Looks like Christian just doesn't know what to do necessarily with his hand. I believe he evolved into the Mew VMAX because he has a Hyper Rare active now. He is going to Quick Ball and fail it. Looks like he is digging for something. He has the double turbo already on that Mew VMAX. He can attack. He will be attacking into that Oranguru, which again is not necessarily what you want to be attacking into. You'd rather be taking out something like a Comfey. The Cramorant is an attacker. You really want to be taking out the Raikou, just because that's a 2-prizer. You could take out the Raikou and then Echoing Hornet back and do it again. And that's 4 prize cards. I would almost want to say if your Mew played double Echoing Horn, because then if you're playing against Lost Box and it has a V Pokemon, you can just knock out the same V Pokemon 3 times in a row. I feel like that would be a good sort of tech. Everybody's been playing 1, but would 2 be better? You could always just discard it with a Cram if you don't need it. Although most of my matchups with Mew, I never use Echoing Horn. It's just never relevant, because whatever I want to knock out is already in play. Or whatever I want or need to. So it looks like we are lost zoning the path, or the... It almost looks like it says path there as the first word, but that is the training court. Looking like we don't need that. We are going to Raihan. That will either go to the Raikou or it will go to... Oh, looks like it goes to the Greninja. That's interesting. You know why? So, by powering up this Greninja, he will... Now that it has 1 energy on it, it is 1 Mirage Gate away from being able to take a knockout on the Genesect that is on the bench that was hit by the Cramorant. It can also soften up this active Mew VMAX, and he could actually take all of his prize cards without having to use the Drapion. It looks like he's actually going in with the Drapion now, so this is really cool. So Pedro can attack with the Drapion this turn, knock out the Mew VMAX, and then that Genesect is there to be taken out with Greninja at any point in the game. Now the thing is, if he... I do believe he got the Sky Seal Stone off of the Raihan as well. So the Greninja will actually be able to take the final 2 prizes of the game. So Pedro has set up all 6 of his prize cards in 1 turn. He's not going to be able to be taking them all, but he has them all within his sights, all in 1 turn. So yep, Sky Seal Stone, he is going to use his V-Star power. Star Order during your turn. You may use this ability during your turn if your opponent's active V-Star or VMAX is knocked out by damage from attack of your basic Pokemon V. Take 1 more prize card. So yeah, he is able to take a whopping 4 prize cards in 1 turn now with the Drapion. His 2nd attack of the game, and now that Greninja is either another Raihan and an attach for turn away from taking the game, or 1 Mirage Gate away from taking the game, which is absolutely insane. Pedro has 5 cards in the Lost Zone, so as long as he is able to just play a Chorus's Experiment, he wins the game. He also has double Comfey in play, so he can just get the cards in the Lost Zone that way as well. He has the Mirage Gate in hand, he also has an energy. He has, I think, 2 Mirage Gates in hand, actually. Maybe. Yeah, he has 2 Mirage Gates in hand. So yeah, he has everything he needs. So again, Christian, gonna need Tamarni or Roxanne. And he does, oh my god, he doesn't have a VMAX. He only plays 2 and he prized 1. No! Oh man, that's crazy. So yeah, even if he was able to get the VMAX that turn, Pedro was just gonna attack with Greninja and win off of that benched. Oh man, but Pedro didn't, but Christian didn't even have the ability to attack that turn, so Pedro just takes all 6 prize cards off of 1 Drapion. Unbelievable. So as I say, not usually good to go Drapion early, because that also leaves room for Pedro to get Roxanne. So if you were able to do it in reverse order, if you could have done the Greninja attack first, knocked out the benched Genesect, and then gone and do the Drapion Sky Seal Stone play to take 4 prize cards, you would not have been able to be Roxanne, and you would have been able to take your final 4 prize cards in 1 turn. So, looks like the way Pedro did it was right, because he didn't have enough in the Lost Zone to be able to use Mirage Gate. Had he had enough in the Lost Zone to be able to Mirage Gate, he definitely would have done that in the opposite order. So, a little less ideal of a way to play that out, but it definitely worked for him. So, I mean, congrats to Pedro. That was a great game to see. Really goes to show how bad of a matchup Lost Box is for Mew. You judge and play, you Marnie and play, you Roxanne and play, and that is how Mew tries to win that matchup. It's just so unfavored in the fact that it has to take a lot of 1 prize knockouts, and it's also unfavored in the fact that Drapion Sky Seal Stone is a thing. Drapion is fine to play around usually, especially if you play Path to the Peak, but the fact that it has Sky Seal Stone and it has all of these outs to the Path to the Peak, it always draws out of your Marnies and it's just, it's Path and Pray, man. Path Marnie Pray, Path Judge Pray. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe to feed the YouTube algorithm. He is always hungry. You do not want him to go hungry. Follow me on Twitch for more Pokemon content as well. There's the Instagram, the Twitter, the Discord, the TikTok, and all that other good stuff. We will see you guys next time.